now joined by ANC National Spokesperson Zizi Kodwa to speak about this. Zizi, thanks so much for coming in today.
As always.
A couple of tough issues your party is dealing with this afternoon. I want to start off with Cosatu's decision to ban the president from speaking at its events. What's your feeling about
We haven't received any official communication from Cosatu. You will recall their press conference was today, following their special CEC. And it will be difficult to make further comments in terms of the implication of such a decision. We have not met with Cosatu since the May Day rally, because there's a big meeting which we are sending a very huge delegation as the ANC, which is coming next week following our NEC over the weekend. So we will comment only when we receive, of course, when we engage with them in some form of meeting or another, because there are issues as well too we would like to raise following some of the rallies, of the May Day rallies.
Did it shock you at all that they made the statement that they no longer want the president to speak to their people?
No, what we would have appreciated, and we did raise it in one other meeting, that the more we continue as independent alliance partners, continue to make these statements about leadership of one alliance partner, it creates problems. But as to whether we are getting closer to one another is something that I think the meeting that we seek, we will have next week, it will give us an opportunity for the first time to come under one roof and talk to one another as alliance partners.
But you're estranged from each other, aren't you? You, Cosatu and the SACP. Clearly, that close relationship, that intimacy that has always existed in the alliance is not there anymore.
The alliance relations are at all-time low, and we have never hidden that point from anywhere. And we think that we can't tire as a leadership to make effort to bring alliance, because we understand absence of leadership of the alliance is the absence of leadership of the country to lead social transformation.
What's more important to the ANC, having Jacob Zuma to continue at its helm, or having this relationship with the alliance members continue?
At the moment, what is important is that the alliance partners must come under one roof and discuss issues of common interest, issues of a minimum program among the alliance partners.
But if you've got a stumbling block who appears to be Jacob Zuma in the way, clearly that's not going to happen.
Precisely, that's why we said we haven't received anything official. We don't want to comment on soundbite using a microphone to talk at another partner. And we think we've got much more better platforms to engage one another. And I think we'll respect that platform as the ANC until such time we'll better understand the basis and the political implication of their statements.
Zizi, let's move to Parliament today, and Lynn Brown and the Eskom board appearing before the Portfolio Committee. What's your feeling about the way they handled themselves today?
The story has been changing. Since last year, November, the story of resignation, the story of early retirement, now the story of unpaid leave. And obviously, given all these developments, you would know that there were certain statements which were made, both by Mr. Molefe, that he had decided to leave the power utility, basically mentioning issues about good corporate governance and many other issues, which was followed by the statement of the minister, almost confirming the earlier statement, including the fact that she had decided to appoint the acting group CEO, Mr. Koko. And therefore, to us, there can't be any confusion. That's why when we met, our officials met with the minister, I think having listened to explanation, we felt that let's give a directive to government, among others, that look, whatever processes you follow, but we think this decision must be rescinded and this decision must be reversed.
And what was the response?
The response, obviously, we don't want to micromanage government, even to undermine government processes. So if the expectation was that the following day such a decision would have been taken, I think it would have been wrong for the African National Congress. There are processes in government, two wrongs don't make it right. The fact that there were no process followed does not suggest that we must also not follow any process.
Do you believe Lynn Brown is a liar?
No, what we say in the statement is that the statement, I think, particularly made by the board, I think the statements from the board have been changing from one goalpost to the other. They may amount to perjury. The fact that suddenly it is unpaid leave, it was early retirement, they did not know the age, they did not know he did not resign. So these misleading and conflicting, almost incoherent versions from the board are worrying us, which is what I think now is before Parliament. Parliament will be a better body to further take this issue now to another level.
But do you believe Lynn Brown is lying to you, or she's a negligent minister?
No, we don't think the minister. In fact, if there's anything we could do as the African National Congress, it's for us as the African National Congress, again, to say, based on the latest developments, Minister, maybe they could add that thing that we may sit down with your organization, the ANC, to better discuss this issue. That's why in the statement, if you read our statement correctly, we don't refer to her having committed perjury. We say some of these developments of the representation of the board, contradictions, incorrect versions, they may amount to perjury.
Let's just ask you about this movement, the circulation of Brian Molefe, first of all from Eskom to Parliament and back to Eskom. When you knew that he had been, his name had been brought into disrepute in the Public Protector's report, why did the ANC want him in its caucus in Parliament, given the fact that he had already been discredited by the Public Protector's observations?
We've answered this question, and I think it's important again to answer this question in different platforms in the same House. One of the things that the state capture report points to is at him when he was ahead of the power utility. And by its very nature, because you don't get people who are banned from participating anywhere. And that's why necessarily when you say in your public life there could be other things you want to do, that report, you must remember, one of the immediate things you are allowed to do in terms of the Public Protector Act is to take it on review. You take it on review to clear your name, which was one of the commitments he had made when he resigned.
Which he hasn't followed through with.
Which he hasn't. But of course the matter is under review. We know now the issues are before courts and so on. And therefore I think let's respect that process.
But let's be clear on that. The President is taking it on review. Brian Molefe has not taken it on review. So you welcomed someone into your ANC caucus who was under suspicion of corruption.
The issues that are raised in the report, you may have to go back. The issues that are raised mentioning names like the president, even when you talk about the president, there will be somewhere where he's talking about the relationship with Molefe, for example. So in one way or another, if the president will take the report on review, Molefe's name would come again. So what we say is that as the African National Congress, when we took a decision, it was on the understanding that the report is under review, and therefore he's committed himself to clear his name.
Now let's just be clear on this. Were you under the impression that Brian Molefe was freelancing as an MP for you in Parliament?
No, not at all, not at all. We have never had such a freelance concept as a member of the African National Congress.
That doesn't exist in the law,
we sent some of the best tested leaders of the ANC to represent the interests of the people of this country. As to what happened 3 months later is something that necessarily, as the African National Congress of having approved of his nomination to be a member of parliament, something that the ANC in a different platform, it will deal with it, because the impression could be given that the question you're asking, that someone had gone to parliament just to freelance, to park for a few period, and therefore come back for whatever reasons. But we don't,
two salaries at the same time.
We don't want to make that determination, but we say the impression could be given.
All right. So going forward, what do you see happening here? Do you want to see the Eskom board go? Do you want to see Brian Molefe go? Do you want to see Lynn Brown go?
Our directive still remains of last week's meeting between the officials of the ANC, the top 6, and the minister, that the best thing to do under the circumstances, rescind the decision, have a head explanation, rescind the decision or reverse it.
To rehire Brian Molefe specifically?
The decision of reappointment, right. Rescind that decision and reverse it.
In terms of Lynn Brown's tenure, do you feel she should go on as a minister in your government?
I think it's important that ministers, like including Minister Lynn Brown, based on the explanation we have got on Monday, we have no reason to doubt that she will act on the matter. There are issues that she must deal with in terms of good corporate governance with the board.
But she's proven that she's struggling. She's not able to solve these problems.
The point that we must deal with in terms of good corporate governance, boards, they run on a day-to-day management and executives. And it's important that if it's true that what has come out in terms of how the story has transmogrified from one story to another, if she has been misled, something that she must act on, she must be bold enough to act on. Obviously, we'll encourage her as the ANC to make sure that she acts if there are people who undermine her executive function, but also who misled her on the information.
Must Dr. Ben Gubane and his board go?
At the moment, that is an issue that is before Parliament. The Parliament has required that they will come back and give them some information when I listened to Parliament today.
All right, let's leave it there. Zizi Kodwa, always good talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in to speak to us. That is ANC National Spokesperson Zizi Kodwa. More of the day's top stories when Afternoon News continues. Stay with us.